You talk about decision making, and I hear this coming up um, a lot in, we'll call it coach speak. Be it
Hmm.
in post game interviews, it's like
Oh yeah.
we need to create environments and practice. Players need to make decision, and I think sometimes there's maybe a disconnect because I think when people or coaches hear that, they think, okay, and they're trying to conceptualize what that is. It's okay, like a defenseman has to choose between, do I move the puck up the wall, or do I hit the centerman in the middle? Um, those types of decisions. But I think we know that our game is so fluid that I'm sure you probably have access to way more data than I do. Just the amount of decisions in a shift that a player may have to make, and
Mhm.
probably doesn't even consider that they're actual decisions. So to bring it back, can you maybe give some examples of, if you're designing practice for, U8 players, what some of those decisions might be versus U12 versus, players at a higher
Yeah.
level?
Well, again, so I think a high performance sport, a lot of times you look at, well, what are the rate limiters to improvement, right? I mean, with little kids, um, we really want them to start to become comfortable on their edges, like it's a foreign surface, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we're going to spend a lot of time around the skating thing, but it, from that, it's a feel of the ice, a push, like balance. Or you're on that blade, but can we do that also? With somebody leaning on us, right? I got to be aware of,
Hmm.
right? So take it back. Can I stand up in combative situations? Can I become comfortable on my edges? Can I have a puck on my stick and be able just to push it and have my head up a little bit to where I can see something? So for me, like at 8U, 10U, right in there, the biggest rate limiter moving forward is not that I can stick handle and do all these fancy moves. It's just that I can have a puck on my stick and look around a little bit and pull in information. Because I can't interact with the environment if I can't do that. I have no chance of seeing the opponent. I have no chance of seeing a teammate. To make a pass, for example, we talk about, oh, we want my players to make passes. Well, if I can't see them, right? Like, right? So, what do we have to work on to allow players to, if we can solve that problem for them or help them improve in that area, it unlocks other things that they can become better at faster, right? And we get ahead of ourselves from a quote, like, I'm not trying to teach them complex decision. I'm trying to teach them maybe how to move in space on two blades, of not run into everybody or just start to become more aware of what their surroundings are. So, while they're skating, can we play tag? Tag is the basis of a lot of ball sports, like hockey. I have the ball, I have
Yeah.
the puck. Someone's trying to come get me, and I'm trying to get away.
Yeah.
Right? I'm adjusting my movements. Now, it's not the same decision that we're making in a hockey game completely, but it is starting to get them to learn to react and skate, um, having to adjust to things in the outside environment.
Yeah, and I think that's what I mean, because and I think a lot of this was just, this is probably, I feel like, the most selfish podcast we've
Yeah,
ever done,
that's
because
just fine
mostly it's
because
just,
you're with 8 year olds right now, and
yeah, and
you're
but
herding cats, and it's like,
I'm with the U6. It's
oh, it's even, yeah.
it's yeah, it's funny. So I've been doing a bunch of research, and and when I say research, like, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
looking at what other sports do, like what other kind of, I'm guessing you don't have Instagram, because I mean, you talk about the gadgets on the ice, like
No,
there's a
my word.
whole industry around gadgets on the ice now. But trying to think, like, how, like, so for example, one of the ideas we have in our bedroom, my wife and I have one of those exercise balls, and you talk about,
Mhm.
like, and just observing, I'm like, man, like, it's clear. I'm like, the kids that are most comfortable falling down seem to be the kids that are most confident just out here, period. So can we, without getting kids to run into each other,
Mhm.
how can we create some environments where they kind of have to learn to, gain their balance. I thought, well, what if we played a game with
Oh,
the
yeah.
exercise? The kids got to push it. So now there's a bit of resistance
Sure.
and things like that. But I think probably more so when I thought about decision making previously, I would think of a drill and I'd say, okay, well, I'm going to have, a player that's got in a zone entry has to drive through the middle,
Mhm.
and they're going to have a teammate on either side of them. And so how do I create a decision? But it's going to be really static. Like I'm going to be skating backwards and I'm going to put my stick here and they have to move it here.
Mhm.
And if they don't, they're wrong. And I'm going to blow it down and correct them
Mhm.
in real time, because that's what great coaches do. And but then I started thinking about it. I'm like, okay, like how can we create decision making in a dynamic environment? And I don't have answers here, but I've just been really pondering this and trying to think, okay, like we've got our small area games, but how do we,
Yeah.
make that a bit more intellectual so that we're designing it in a way that kids have or players have to make decisions that are going to translate into a game.
Yeah. So we kind of show our coaches in our coaching education program this kind of learning design continuum a little bit, where things scale up in complexity, and it looks more like unopposed activities tend to be working on technical ability. And as you start to layer in some complexity with opponents, teammates, those things, the sliding scale, more tactical in nature. So in the example you gave, you're looking at a slice of the game
Mm-hmm.
and you're trying to simplify a bit. So you're removing the complexity of 5-on-5, maybe down to a smaller number of players. So there's less reads, less decisions, but you still want the same information that the player has to read in the game, right? That's why having another player as the opponent to read, like, well, in the game, well, why do I pass to the left versus the right? Well, it's because that player did something that kind of took away one option, or right. I'm reading the opponent that's helping me decide which way I go, right? Or maybe better yet, I'm starting to manipulate that opponent to go one way so I can go the other. So the coach with the directions, not a bad starting spot, but at the end of the day, you want to put a real player in there.
Yeah.
As soon as you think the players have the concept down that okay, this is what we're looking for, then make it as close to a real situation as you potentially can. But you can reduce the complexity and the variability by reducing the number of players and those things, right? So when we say a decision, we still want them to have to, like, what's the information in the game that they're going to use to make that decision? Is that information still there?
Same. We're going back to dropping them in the wilderness, and can they
Exactly.
can they get their way out? Yeah.
Exactly.
If you are involved with a minor hockey association that hosts tournaments or multiple tournaments, or you're a coach who operates spring tournaments, or any organization that puts on events, then you're going to thank me for introducing you to Event Connect. Event Connect makes managing and growing your sports events simple and efficient. It literally covers every aspect of the event management, from scheduling, linking out of town teams or visitors with hotel bookings, to capturing registration fees and collecting additional revenue, all on one platform. Best of all, it's free. Event Connect receives a small fee through its payment processor, but there is no upfront investment. I got introduced to Event Connect because several of our league and association partners began using them and raved about the time it saved, how user friendly it was, and the additional revenue they were able to generate. In fact, the feedback was so positive, we began using Event Connect to host TCS Live, our annual coaching conference at the University of Michigan. It was a great decision. I know firsthand how stressful it can be to run tournaments and events, and can't imagine going through that process again without Event Connect. If you want to simplify the process of organizing your tournament or event and tap into new revenue, then go to eventconnectsports.com to book a demo today. Don't go through the painful process of trying to run your next tournament without Event Connect. Go to eventconnectsports.com and get started now.